guys, tonight we're stepping back in time, way back, to a place where central heating was a roaring hearth and spin cycle involved, well, actual spinning. Imagine the chill of pre-dawn air, the kind that bites at your fingers and steals the warmth from your breath as you trudge through a cobbled courtyard. The only sounds, the distant clatter of a stable hand and the whisper of your own weary footsteps. You're headed not for a cozy coffee shop, but for a bustling, damp, and often steamy laundry house, a vital yet utterly overlooked hub of medieval castle life. You probably won't survive this job for very long, but let's pretend you're tougher than you look, shall we? So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The castle sleeps around you, a massive, stone-breathing beast under a blanket of stars. But for you, the Laundress, dawn is just a rumor of light on the horizon. The very first hint of gray, really, barely enough to distinguish the towering keep from the equally imposing stable block. You've been up for what feels like hours, rousted from a straw mattress that offered more prickles than comfort, in a small, shared chamber somewhere near the kitchen, where the lingering scent of stale bread and wood smoke is your constant companion. The thin shift you wear offers scant protection against the biting morning chill that seems to cling to the very stones of the castle walls. You shiver, pulling your rough wool overgown tighter, your breath misting in the frigid air as you navigate the narrow, winding paths towards the laundry house, a place that will soon become your entire world for the next 14 hours. Your muscles are already aching, a preemptive protest against the day's labor. It's a familiar ache, a constant companion that settles deep in your bones. The water for the first wash needs to be drawn, and drawn it will be, from the castle well. This isn't a simple turn of a tap, my friend. This is a bucket, a rope, and the sheer, unadulterated grunt work of hauling gallons upon gallons of icy cold water from the depths. You join the other laundresses, a small, hardy band, their faces etched with a similar blend of fatigue and grim determination. There's a shared glance, a silent acknowledgement of the monumental task ahead. It's a bit like an early morning gym session, but instead of protein shakes, you're fueled by the sheer necessity of clean linen, and instead of a personal trainer, you have the stern gaze of the head laundress, Ilara, whose back is as straight as a pikestaff and whose patience is as thin as worn cloth. You grasp the rough rope, calloused hands already accustomed to its bite. The well wheel groans in protest as you begin to turn it, the bucket descending with a splash that echoes from the dark shaft. Each heave upwards is a full-body workout, your core engaged, your legs braced against the damp ground. Water sloshes over the rim as you haul it up, a chilling baptism for your already cold fingers. You carry the heavy buckets, two at a time, suspended from a wooden yoke across your shoulders, the weight pressing down, forcing you to walk with a deliberate, slow gait. It's a procession, a ritual performed countless times, day in and day out, rain or shine, frost or sweltering heat. The main water source for many castles, in fact, was often a well within the inner bailey, ensuring a supply even under siege, though the sheer effort of retrieving it remained a constant. Imagine trying to fill your washing machine, one bucket at a time, every day. Sounds like a blast, right? The laundry house itself is a simple, functional structure. Stone walls, a packed earth floor that's perpetually damp, and a large central hearth where fires will soon be stoked to heat enormous cauldrons of water. The air inside is thick with the smell of old stone, dampness, and something else, something faintly earthy and vaguely unpleasant, the lingering scent of last week's dirty laundry perhaps, or the unidentifiable funk of 1,000 washes. There are long, heavy wooden troughs lining the walls, worn smooth by generations of scrubbing. These are your battle stations, your cubicles in this medieval office. As the first faint streaks of orange and pink begin to paint the eastern sky, peeking over the castle battlements, the laundry house truly begins to stir. Flames leap to life in the hearth, casting dancing shadows on the walls, and the crackle of burning wood adds a comforting, if still somewhat sleepy soundtrack to your efforts. The water in the cauldrons begins its slow, agonizing ascent to warmth, steam already beginning to curl upwards, promising a brief respite from the chill. But before that warmth can truly permeate the air, there's more work: the dirty laundry itself. A cart, pulled by a scrawny donkey, or perhaps by a couple of the younger, stronger laundresses, arrives laden with enormous wicker baskets. The stench, my friends, is profound. It's a heady mix of stale sweat, wood smoke, animal dander, food scraps, and 1,000 other indescribable castle odors, all concentrated in a pungent cloud. You wrinkle your nose, but you're too tired and too accustomed to truly be repulsed. You simply get to work. Unloading these baskets is a brutal task. The clothes are not sorted by color or fabric type. Of course not. They're just clothes. The rough wool tunics of the guards, stiff with grime and whatever unfortunate encounters they've had on patrol. The finer linen shifts and hose of the household staff, perhaps less grimy, but still needing a good clean. And then, the prized possessions, the delicate, often embroidered undergarments and outer layers of the lord and lady themselves. These are handled with almost a reverent care, for a single tear or stain that cannot be removed could mean a harsh reprimand, or worse, a docking of your meager wages. It's not just about getting things clean, it's about preserving valuable property. Historians still argue whether laundresses received specialized training for discerning fabric types or relied solely on practical experience passed down. It's a valid question, considering the sheer variety of materials they would have encountered, from coarse homespun to imported silks. You learn by doing mostly, by the feel of the cloth, by the way it reacts to the scrub board and the washing solutions. Experience is your finest teacher, and Alara, the head laundress, is a walking encyclopedia of stains and how to defeat them. She hovers, her gaze sharp, missing nothing, offering terse instructions or a swift, unexpected cuff to the ear if your attention strays. As you begin to sort, tossing like items, or at least somewhat like items, into separate piles on the cold stone floor, you notice a particular garment. It's a lady's chemise, made of fine, almost translucent linen, exquisitely embroidered around the neckline. It smells faintly of lavender and something else, something sweet and musky. You can almost picture the lady herself, perhaps Lady Eleanor, with her elegant hands and her sharp, intelligent eyes, wearing this garment just yesterday. It's a fleeting connection to a world of silks and banquets that is utterly alien to your own. A brief flicker of imagination before your attention is dragged back to the mound of soiled linen. You wonder what she dreams about, what worries her. Do laundresses ever worry about what the lord and lady actually do in their embroidered nightclothes? Probably not. You're too busy worrying about getting the muck out of them. A strange thought, perhaps, for someone whose life is so tied to the intimate garments of others, yet so utterly removed from their daily lives. The main challenge now is the preparation. Before any real washing can begin, the worst of the dirt has to be scraped or rinsed away. This pre-soak, often in cold water, helps loosen the heavy grime. You plunge your hands into a trough of icy water, feeling the chill seep into your bones, your fingers quickly turning numb. You rub the fabric together, an early form of pre-treatment, dislodging larger pieces of mud, straw, or whatever else has clung to the clothes. It's here that the first faint blush of pink appears on your knuckles, a promise of the raw, chapped skin that will be your badge of honor by day's end. The sun is finally up, a pale, watery disk struggling to burn through the morning mist, casting long, distorted shadows of the castle walls across the courtyard. The laundry house is now alive with the sounds of splashing water, the rhythmic thud of scrubbing brushes, and the low hum of conversation amongst the laundresses. Mostly complaints about the cold, the dirt, or Alara's demanding nature. But beneath the grumbling, there's a camaraderie, a shared burden that binds you together. You are the invisible force that keeps the castle clean, the silent workers who ensure the nobility doesn't walk around smelling like a particularly fragrant badger. And that, in its own way, is a kind of power, isn't it? A surprisingly cozy little corner of a harsh world where the steam and effort of human hands create cleanliness from chaos.
The pre-soak, that initial battle against the heaviest grime, has prepared the clothes for the true ordeal. Now the main event begins, the actual washing. You watch as Alara, with an almost ceremonial gravity, tosses handfuls of a particular plant into one of the steaming cauldrons. This, my friends, is soapwort. Not quite the perfumed bar soap you're probably picturing, but effective nonetheless. This humble plant, Saponaria officinalis, contains saponins, which create a lather when agitated in water, acting as a natural detergent. It's an ancient secret, passed down through generations of laundresses, far older than any fancy chemical concoction. You often wonder if the common folk knew of its uses, or if it was a skill guarded jealously within the castle walls. Another small piece of knowledge that distinguished the privileged from the peasant. You dip your hands into the now warm, slightly sudsy water, a welcome change from the earlier icy plunge. But the warmth is fleeting, a cruel tease before the real work begins. The clothes, still heavy with water, are transferred from the pre-soaked troughs to the main washing troughs where the soapwort-infused water awaits. The smell is earthy, not unpleasant, but certainly not the fresh linen scent of your modern detergents. It's a smell that speaks of natural processes, of hard labor, and of a time when cleanliness was achieved through elbow grease rather than fancy fragrances. Each laundress has her own section of the trough, a worn wooden washboard propped at an angle. This is where the real scrubbing happens. You select a coarse wool tunic, heavy and stiff with accumulated dirt. You lay it on the washboard, pressing down with all your might, and begin to rub. Back and forth, the rhythmic rasp of wool against wood, a sound that quickly becomes hypnotic, a percussive backdrop to the day's labor. Your knuckles, still protesting from the cold water, are now subjected to the constant friction, reddening and chafing with each pass. It's an upper body workout that would put most gym routines to shame, focusing on brute strength and endurance. You can practically feel your biceps screaming in protest, but you ignore them. You have to. The castle's social dynamics, surprisingly, play out even in the laundry house. The most experienced laundresses, like Ilara, handle the lords' and ladies' finest garments, their delicate silks and embroidered linens. These items require a gentler touch, a more meticulous eye for detail, and a greater understanding of how different fabrics react to water and scrubbing. You, as a newer hand, are assigned the bulk of the coarser, heavier items, the servant's livery, the guard's tunics, the kitchen staff's aprons. These are the workhorses of the wardrobe, meant to withstand a beating, and so they receive one. It's a clear hierarchy, even amongst the washers of dirty clothes. It's a bit like starting in the mailroom, but with significantly more bodily fluids involved. There's a quiet understanding among you too. While Ilara maintains a strict, often intimidating demeanor, there are moments of shared humanity. A knowing glance when a particularly stubborn stain refuses to yield, a soft sigh of frustration that echoes your own. Sometimes a piece of gossip, whispered low so as not to reach Ilara's ears, makes its way around the troughs. Who's sweet on whom in the stable? What new delicacy did the cook conjure up for the Lord's Supper? These tiny fragments of information are your windows into the wider world of the castle, a world you serve but are rarely a part of. The laundress, after all, hears and sees much, but is expected to speak of nothing. It's an unspoken rule, enforced by Ilara's sharp eye and the ever-present threat of losing your position. One of the quirkier historical tidbits about medieval laundry is the use of lye. While soapwort was common, especially for finer items, coarser clothes might have been washed using a lye solution, made by pouring water through wood ash. This created a highly alkaline liquid that was incredibly effective at cutting through grease and grime, but also incredibly harsh on both clothes and hands. You can imagine the chapped, cracked skin of a laundress who regularly handled such solutions. It's enough to make you grateful for your mild soapwort, even if it does mean a bit more elbow grease. Historians still argue whether the commonness of skin ailments and infections among medieval working classes was more due to poor hygiene in general or the specific harshness of the cleaning agents and methods they employed daily. As the sun climbs higher and the steam from the cauldrons fills the laundry house, making the air heavy and humid, the pace intensifies. The rhythmic scrubbing becomes a blur of motion, your arms moving almost independently of your exhausted mind. You're acutely aware of the time, not by clocks, but by the angle of the sunlight filtering through the small, high windows, and by the diminishing piles of dirty laundry. There's a certain satisfaction in seeing a garment, previously stiff with muck, slowly transform into something approaching cleanliness. It's a small victory, but a significant one. You occasionally hear the sounds of the castle outside, the clanging of the blacksmith's hammer, the distant shouts of guards practicing with their swords, the bleating of sheep from the outer bailey. These sounds are a constant reminder of the world beyond your damp, steamy walls, a world that demands its clothes be clean and ready. You pause for a moment, wiping a bead of sweat from your brow with the back of your hand, a smudge of dirt transferring to your skin. You glance at the now clean tunic you've just wrung out, the water pouring from it in a steady stream. It's not pristine by modern standards, but it's clean enough for a medieval guard, you hope. The sheer volume of laundry is staggering. A castle is a living, breathing entity, constantly generating dirt. From the kitchen, where spills and grease are an everyday occurrence, to the stables, where straw and animal waste cling to everything, to the Lord's chambers, where even the finest silks somehow accumulate dust and grime. You realize that laundry isn't just about personal hygiene, it's about the functioning of the entire household. Without clean linens, the castle would grind to a halt, or at least become a far less pleasant place to live. Imagine the Lord trying to hold court in a stained tunic. The horror. There's a subtle art to wringing out the clothes, too. It's not just about twisting. It's about applying pressure evenly, ensuring that as much water as possible is expelled without damaging the fabric. For the finer linens, it's a gentle squeeze, a careful press. For the coarse woolens, it's a brute force twist, your hands working together to extract every last drop. Your forearms burn, a dull ache that promises to be a sharp pain by evening. This isn't a job for the faint of heart or the weak of limb. The social dynamics within the laundry house itself are fascinating. While Ilara is the undisputed leader, there's a pecking order among the laundresses. The younger, newer girls are given the most arduous tasks, the heaviest scrubbing, the most pungent piles of laundry. As you gain experience and muscle, you graduate to slightly less unpleasant duties, perhaps handling the staff's clothes. Then, eventually, if you prove yourself, the more delicate items of the nobility. It's a career path of sorts, albeit one paved with soapwort and sore muscles. You recall that one time you tried to subtly pass off a particularly stubborn stain on a steward's breeches to young Alice, only for Ilara to catch you with a withering look that could curdle milk. She simply pointed back to the breeches with a silent gesture, and you knew better to try such shenanigans again. Amidst the scrubbing and rinsing, there's also the occasional task of mending. Not full-blown tailoring, but quick repairs. A loose hem on a servant's tunic, a small tear in a bedsheet. You keep a needle and thread tucked into your apron, ready for these minor emergencies. It's another way to preserve the valuable textiles of the castle, to extend their life, to postpone the inevitable need for replacement. This practical frugality was a cornerstone of medieval life, where every scrap of cloth was precious. As the morning wears on, the air in the laundry house becomes heavy with the scent of wet wool, warm soapwort, and the metallic tang of heated water. Your back aches, a dull throb that settles between your shoulder blades. Your hands are raw, pruned from the constant immersion in water. But the piles of clean, albeit still dripping wet laundry, are growing. Each completed garment is a small victory, a testament to your endurance and skill. The rhythm of the work has become almost meditative, a trance-like state where your thoughts drift, occasionally interrupted by Ilara's sharp commands or the splash of a particularly vigorous scrub. You might catch yourself humming a tuneless melody, a quiet counterpoint to the sounds of labor, or even briefly fantasizing about a hot meal and a moment of rest. But those thoughts are fleeting, quickly banished by the sight of another garment awaiting its transformation from soiled to clean. It's a relentless, endless cycle, and you are but one cog in this vast, damp machine.
With the washing complete, the hardest physical labor is far from over. In fact, it's just beginning, albeit in a slightly different form. You've scrubbed the clothes, coaxed out the dirt, and now they hang heavy, sodden, and dripping. The next step is a crucial one: drying. But this isn't simply tossing them into a tumble dryer. Oh no, my friend. This is a meticulous, weather-dependent, and sometimes surprisingly dangerous process. First, there's the rinsing. The clothes, still impregnated with soapwort and suspended grime, need to be thoroughly rinsed in clean, cold water. This often means repeated dunks in fresh well water, swishing and squeezing until the water runs clear and no trace of suds remains. It's another round of plunging your raw hands into icy depths, another test of endurance. You hoist heavy woolens, now even heavier with absorbed water, out of the rinsing troughs, the muscles in your arms and shoulders screaming a fresh protest. The sheer weight of a wet wool blanket is staggering, a true feat of strength to lift and manipulate. It feels like you're trying to wrestle a particularly stubborn, waterlogged sheep. Once rinsed, the real battle against gravity begins: wringing. While you've done some wringing during the washing, this final stage is critical to speed up drying. For the coarser items, you might twist the fabric with all your might. Two laundresses often working together on larger pieces, one at each end, twisting in opposite directions until ropes of water stream from the cloth. For finer linens, it's a gentler, more careful hand squeezing, trying to avoid stretching or damaging the delicate weave. This continuous twisting and squeezing further chafes your already abused hands, leaving them red, raw, and often cracked. It's a pain that you learn to live with, a constant reminder of your profession. Now for the drying. On a fine, sunny day, this is a relatively straightforward affair, if still labor-intensive. You carry the enormous baskets of wrung-out laundry, staggering under their weight, out into the castle courtyard or a designated drying area. Long ropes are strung between posts or even between the buttresses of the castle walls. You hoist each heavy garment, one by one, shaking it out before carefully draping it over the rope. The goal is to maximize air circulation, ensuring an even and relatively quick dry. The courtyard slowly transforms into a bizarre, fluttering landscape of white and natural-colored cloth, like a fleet of ghostly sails caught in a perpetual breeze. It's quite a sight, actually, and one of the few aesthetically pleasing moments in your day. But what happens when it rains or snows, or when the air is thick with dampness, a common occurrence in a medieval castle, often situated near rivers or in misty valleys? Then, the drying process becomes an indoor affair, and far more tedious. Clothes might be hung in the laundry house itself, near the roaring hearth, or in other designated warm, airy spaces. This often means the air becomes thick with humidity, making breathing difficult, and the drying process agonizingly slow. Imagine trying to dry a week's worth of laundry in your living room next to a perpetually roaring fireplace for days on end. That's your reality. Sometimes clothes might even be spread out on rush mats on the floor, regularly turned to prevent mildew. It's a constant battle against dampness and the risk of the clothes developing that awful, stale, mildewy smell. A mainstream historical fact, medieval clothing, particularly for the working classes, was rarely washed with the frequency we associate with modern hygiene. Outer garments, especially woolens, might go months between washes, being aired out or brushed down instead. It was the linen undergarments, worn closest to the skin, that bore the brunt of daily washing, absorbing sweat and grime. This is why you spend so much time on those basic tunics and shifts. They were the front-line defense against unpleasantness. You realize how different their standards of clean were compared to yours. The process of airing and drying wasn't without its quirky tidbits either. For valuable fabrics, or to impart a pleasant scent, clothes might sometimes be smoked over aromatic herbs or wood, not just to dry them, but to infuse them with a fragrance, or even to deter moths and other pests. Imagine your laundry smelling faintly of rosemary and oak smoke. Not bad, actually, compared to some of the other smells you encounter daily. Historians still argue whether this practice was primarily for scent, pest control, or if it had a perceived hygienic benefit related to killing germs through smoke. It's a fascinating little detail that reminds you how resourceful medieval people were. As you hang the clothes piece by honest piece, you begin to notice the subtle differences in the fabrics and the stories they tell. The rough, thick weave of a guardsman tunic, patched countless times, speaks of battles and long watches. The finer, softer linen of a lady's shift, perhaps with a small, almost invisible tear, hints at hurried dressing or a momentary snag. You become intimately familiar with the wear and tear of the castle inhabitants' lives, a silent witness to their daily routines through the proxy of their soiled garments. It's a strange form of intimacy, really, knowing so much about people you rarely, if ever, speak to beyond a polite nod. The sun beats down, or the wind whips through the courtyard, depending on the day. Your face is probably flushed, a combination of exertion and the elements. Your hands throb, a constant ache that never quite dissipates. You might have a dull headache from the concentration and the constant bending and lifting. The physical toll of being a laundress is immense. It requires incredible upper body strength, endurance, and a remarkable tolerance for discomfort. No gym membership needed when your daily routine involves hauling water, scrubbing clothes, and wrestling wet blankets onto a line. I chuckle to myself, imagining the Lord trying to do just one day of your work. He'd probably faint from exhaustion after the first bucket of water. Sometimes an unexpected gust of wind rips through the courtyard, tearing a freshly hung garment from the line and sending it fluttering across the muddy ground. A collective groan rises from the laundresses. It means retrieving the fallen item, assessing the new dirt it's acquired, and often a return to the washing trough for another rinse or even a full rewash. It's moments like these that test your patience, pushing you to the brink of utter frustration. You have to remind yourself that temper tantrums are a luxury you cannot afford. Ilara would simply stare at you with that piercing gaze and then find some extra heavy scrubbing for you to do. The drying process can take hours, sometimes even days, depending on the weather and the fabric. Heavy woolens, particularly in damp conditions, can seem to retain water indefinitely. You learn to read the sky, to feel the air, to predict how quickly the laundry will dry. It's a skill born of necessity, as the castle always needs clean clothes, and you are the one responsible for delivering them. There's a constant pressure, an unspoken deadline that hovers over your work. As the sun begins its slow descent towards the western horizon, casting long golden shadows across the castle, the retrieval process begins. You carefully take each dried garment from the line, folding it roughly into a waiting basket. The clothes are now lighter, fragrant with fresh air and sunlight, or perhaps a faint trace of wood smoke if dried indoors. There's a small, quiet sense of accomplishment as you gather the fruits of your labor. The courtyard, once a riot of white and beige, slowly returns to its original austere stone. But your day is still not done. These clothes, though clean and dry, are not yet ready for their owners. They need to be sorted, perhaps folded more neatly, and for some, carefully repaired. The work of a laundress extends beyond just washing. It's about the entire life cycle of the castle's textiles, from soiled to serviceable. You trudge back towards the laundry house, your back aching, your hands throbbing, but with a sense of purpose that keeps you moving. The day may be winding down for many in the castle, but for you, there are still tasks to complete, before you can even dream of your own meager supper and a few hours of uneasy sleep. The endless cycle of grime and cleanliness, exhaustion and fleeting satisfaction continues.
With the clothes now clean and hopefully dry, the focus shifts from the brute force of washing to the meticulous detail of sorting, folding, and mending. You've brought the baskets of laundry back into the laundry house, or perhaps to a slightly drier, more sheltered antechamber where the light is still decent. The air here, though still carrying the ghost of dampness, is thankfully free from the heavy steam of the washing troughs. Your back still aches, your hands are still raw, but there's a different kind of task ahead, one that demands less muscle and more precision. This is where the hierarchy of the castle truly becomes tangible in your hands. The sorting process isn't just about separating socks from shirts. It's about separating the lord's fine linen tunics from the stable boy's coarse wool trousers, the ladies' embroidered shifts from the kitchen maid's simple aprons. Each pile represents a different stratum of castle society, and each item is handled with varying degrees of care and attention. You're literally folding the social hierarchy with your own two hands. The lord and lady's garments, predictably, receive the utmost care. These are often made of finer fabrics, more prone to damage, and certainly more valuable. You inspect them closely for any missed stains, a tiny fleck of wine from last night's feast, a smudge of soot from a poorly burning candle. Even the slightest imperfection could lead to trouble. You fold them with practiced precision, smoothing out every wrinkle, ensuring they are presented back to the chamber staff in impeccable condition. It's a silent testament to the wealth and status of their owners, a visual representation of their place at the apex of the castle's social pyramid. You might even catch a faint whiff of their personal scent, a lingering perfume or a hint of their favorite spiced wine, offering another fleeting glimpse into their opulent lives. Then come the clothes of the knights, squires, and higher-ranking household staff, the steward, the chaplain, the seneschal. These are often sturdy but well-made garments, requiring a thorough but perhaps less delicate folding. Their tunics and hose are still valuable but less precious than the lord's own wardrobe. You might spot a tear in a knight's breeches, clearly from a sword practice mishap, or a frayed cuff on the steward's doublet. These items often require minor mending before they are returned. Finally, there's the vast bulk of the castle's population, the servants, guards, cooks, stable hands, and other laborers. Their clothes are usually made of coarser wool or rough linen, designed for durability rather than luxury. While still cleaned and folded, the scrutiny applied to these items is less intense. A small tear here or there might be overlooked or simply given a quick, rough mend if it compromises functionality. It's a practical approach to laundry for those whose lives are defined by hard labor. You chuckle internally, thinking how a modern laundromat would have a meltdown if presented with this level of social stratification. Imagine having to fold your boss's clothes with more care than your own. Mending is a significant part of your role, not just an afterthought. Medieval clothing was incredibly valuable, often representing a significant investment of time and resources. Fabrics were spun, woven, and dyed by hand, making them precious commodities. Therefore, repairing clothes was far more common than simply replacing them. You keep a small sewing kit, needles, sturdy thread, and perhaps a thimble tucked into your apron or belt. A small tear in a tunic, a loose button, a frayed hem, these are all within your purview. You sit on a low stool, often by the dwindling light of a lamp or the last vestiges of daylight, carefully plying your needle. This isn't delicate embroidery, mind you. This is practical, functional mending, designed to extend the life of a garment. Stitches are often seen, strong and sturdy, rather than artful. You might even patch a particularly worn area with a piece of similar fabric, cut from an older, irreparable garment. It's a testament to the medieval mindset of resourcefulness and frugality. Nothing goes to waste if it can still serve a purpose. Historians still argue whether the prevalence of patching and mending led to a more diverse and colorful textile landscape in daily wear for commoners compared to the relatively standardized garments of the nobility. One quirky tidbit, sometimes clothes might even be fulled as part of their treatment, particularly woolen items. Fulling is a process where wool is beaten or trampled in water, causing the fibers to interlock and shrink, making the fabric denser, warmer, and more water-resistant. While this was often done on a larger scale by fullers, a laundress might perform a rudimentary version for particularly hardy garments, though it required considerable strength and time. Imagine stomping on clothes in a vat of water to make them tougher. Sounds like a medieval spa treatment gone wrong. As you mend, your mind often wanders. The repetitive motion of the needle, in and out, creates a meditative rhythm. You might think about your own simple tunic and how many times it's been mended, or about the other laundresses, their lives so similar to yours. You're all cogs in the great machine of the castle, performing essential but often invisible labor. It's a curious blend of anonymity and intimacy, handling the most personal items of everyone from the lord to the lowest stable hand, yet remaining largely unseen and unheard. The chamber staff, responsible for the lord and lady's personal effects, will eventually arrive to collect the freshly laundered and mended garments. There's a brief exchange of nods, perhaps a hurried word or two. You pass over the neatly folded piles, and they are whisked away, back to the private chambers of the nobility. For a moment, you feel a faint connection to their world, a brief bridge built of clean linen. Then they are gone, and you return to the remaining piles, to the coarser fabrics, the more utilitarian men's. The sorting and folding can take hours, extending well into the afternoon, especially if there's a backlog from a particularly busy week or bad weather. The light begins to fade again, and lamps are lit, casting flickering shadows across your work area. The air grows cooler, and you huddle closer to the diminishing warmth of the hearth if you can. Your fingers, though no longer immersed in cold water, are stiff from the constant handling of cloth and the small, precise movements of mending. Sometimes, a laundress might be asked to help with the sweetening of clothes, particularly for the lord and lady. This involved placing dried, clean garments in chests or presses with sachets of dried herbs like lavender, rosemary, or dried rose petals to impart a pleasant fragrance. This was especially important in a time when personal hygiene was, let's just say, variable, and strong scents helped mask less desirable ones. You might assist the chamber staff with this, carefully arranging layers of clean linen with layers of fragrant herbs, a moment of surprising beauty in a grimy day. It's a world away from the initial stench of the laundry baskets, a pleasant reward for all your efforts. The day feels incredibly long, an endless succession of physical tasks and precise movements. But there's a quiet pride in your work. You are contributing to the smooth functioning of the castle, ensuring that everyone, from the lord to the lowest servant, has clean clothes. It's not glorious work, certainly not heroic, but it is undeniably essential. Without you and your fellow laundresses, the castle would quickly descend into a chaotic, unhygienic mess. As the last pile is folded, the last mend completed, a profound weariness settles over you. Your shoulders ache, your hands are raw and stinging, and your feet, from standing on cold stone all day, feel like blocks of ice. But the laundry house is quieter now, the empty troughs gleaming faintly in the dim light, the scent of clean fabric replacing the earlier odors of grime and soapwort. It's a temporary peace, of course. Tomorrow, the cycle will begin anew. But for now, you can almost taste the promise of a brief respite, a few hours of darkness and quiet before the relentless demands of the castle stir you awake once more. The satisfaction, though muted by exhaustion, is real. You've brought order to chaos, cleanliness to filth, and for a laundress in a medieval castle, that is victory enough.
The last of the neatly folded bundles have been collected by the chamber staff, or perhaps stacked in a designated corner, awaiting their morning distribution. The laundry house is quiet now, save for the crackle of the dying embers in the hearth and the gentle drip of water from a neglected trough. The air has cooled, losing the thick humidity of midday, settling into the familiar, slightly damp chill of evening. Your shift, which began long before dawn, is finally drawing to a close. Your body, however, hasn't quite received the memo. You begin the end-of-day chores, which, unsurprisingly, involve more physical labor. The troughs need to be scrubbed clean, the tools put away, and the hearth prepared for tomorrow's fire. You scrape out the last of the murky water from the washing troughs, a final act of emptying the day's grime. Your hands, already chafed and tender, sting as you plunge them into the cold water one last time to wipe down the wooden surfaces. The rhythmic scraping and splashing are the final notes in the day's long, arduous symphony of labor. As you work, a profound weariness settles over you, a deep, bone-aching fatigue that goes beyond simple tiredness. It's the kind of exhaustion that seeps into your very soul, making every movement an effort. Your shoulders are stiff, your back a dull ache, and your feet feel perpetually cold and heavy. You catch a glimpse of your reflection in a bucket of water, a smudged, tired face, framed by a linen coif that has long since lost its crispness. You look every inch the medieval laundress, strong, resilient, and utterly spent. It's a bit like running a marathon, then being told you still have to clean the stadium. One mainstream historical fact about the end of the day for servants in a medieval castle was that meal times were often rigidly scheduled and often involved simple, hearty fare. For laundresses, this might mean a supper of coarse bread, perhaps some cheese or a piece of cured meat, and a cup of ale or weak cider. It wasn't a feast, but it was sustenance, designed to provide enough energy for another day of strenuous labor. You fantasize about the warmth of a simple stew, the savory comfort of it sliding down your throat, a small luxury to look forward to. As you finish cleaning the troughs, you lean against the cold stone wall for a moment, letting out a long, slow sigh. You're alone now, or almost alone. Perhaps Ilara is still bustling about, ensuring everything is precisely as it should be, or another laundress lingers, equally weary. In these quiet, twilight moments, your mind often drifts. You think of home, perhaps a distant village or a small cot on the edge of the castle lands. You remember the simple pleasures of childhood, running through fields, the warmth of your mother's hand, the scent of wood smoke from your own hearth, not just the communal one of the castle. These memories are precious, fleeting comforts in a life defined by toil. There's a quirky tidbit you recall from an old woman, a former laundress, who once told you that at the end of a particularly arduous day, they would sometimes rub their hands with goose fat or a salve made from herbs like mallow or comfrey, not just for comfort, but to try and heal the endless cracks and sores that were the inevitable badges of their profession. You can almost feel the imagined relief, the greasy balm soothing your inflamed skin, a small act of self-care in a world where such luxuries were rare. The walk back to your shared sleeping quarters is a familiar one, yet it feels longer tonight. The castle is settling down for the night, its massive stones radiating the cold of the encroaching darkness. Torches flicker in sconces, casting dancing shadows that play tricks on your tired eyes. You pass the kitchens, catching the lingering aroma of cooked meat and baked bread, scents that make your stomach rumble and protest. You pass the stables, hearing the soft snorts and shuffling of horses.
The sounds of the castle at night are different from the daytime bustle. They're softer, more hushed, a symphony of sleeping giants and hidden life. As you finally reach your sleeping quarters, a small, cramped room shared with several other female servants, the warmth, though meager, is a welcome embrace. The straw mattress, which felt so uninviting this morning, now seems like a haven. You shed your damp, work-worn outer garments, careful to fold them neatly for tomorrow, leaving only your shift. There's a quiet camaraderie among the other women, a shared understanding of the day's exhaustion. Perhaps a few hushed words are exchanged, a shared complaint about Elara, or a fleeting comment about a particularly stubborn stain, before silence descends. Historians still argue whether the quality of life for a medieval servant, particularly a laundress, improved or worsened with the rise of larger, more complex castle households. On the one hand, larger castles often meant more hands to share the load. On the other, it could mean more rigid hierarchies, longer hours, and a greater sense of anonymity. For you, the answer is irrelevant. This is your life, the only one you know, and you simply endure. You lie down on your mattress, pulling a thin wool blanket up to your chin. Your body screams in protest, every muscle aching, every joint complaining. Your hands throb, a constant reminder of the day's work. Yet, despite the physical discomfort, there's a strange sense of peace. You've done your duty. You've contributed to the functioning of this massive, demanding edifice. The castle's linens are clean, its people, at least for a few hours, can sleep in fresh sheets. It's a small, quiet victory, one that only you and your fellow laundresses truly understand. The darkness of the room is absolute, broken only by the faint snores of your companions. Your mind, though exhausted, is still active, replaying moments from the day. The chill of the morning well water, the rhythmic scrubbing against the washboard, the sight of clothes fluttering in the wind. You drift on the edge of sleep, your thoughts softening, blurring. The sounds of the castle fade into a distant hum, a lullaby of stone and sleeping life. As sleep finally claims you, the aches begin to recede, replaced by a deep, heavy slumber. You dream, perhaps, of sun-drenched fields, of the softness of a clean stream, of hands that are smooth and unchapped. You dream of quiet moments, free from the constant demands of the wash, the endless cycle of dirt and cleanliness. For a few precious hours, you are free, adrift in the soothing oblivion of sleep, preparing unknowingly for the moment when the first faint stirrings of dawn will once again call you back to the troughs, back to the steam, back to the surprisingly cozy, relentlessly demanding routine of a castle laundress. The castle sleeps, and so, finally, do you.